Adrienne Percy.
And I'm Sherry Rothwell.
And we're from domesticdiva.ca, and today we're going to show you something really super that we adore because you're going to get a lot of mileage from one really good quality chicken. We're calling it one chicken, 8 ways. If you can believe it, you can get 8 different meals or 8 parts of a meal out of one chicken. And a lot of times when we tell people this, they're like, seriously, how can you even do that? But we're going to show you exactly how, step by step today, and it's going to cut down your time in the kitchen, and you're going to be able to stretch your food dollars. And that's really important for a lot of people who are choosing to eat high quality food, local, organic, and that's really something that's important to us as we make food choices that help our children grow to their full potential, help us be healthy and vibrant. So let's get started right away.
All right. So we're going to begin by taking the chicken and cutting off the breast. We're going to be making chicken nuggets. So basically what you need to do is discover which side of the chicken actually is the breast. So if you look at this particular chicken here, you can see the legs are on the bottom side. That's the, basically we're going to open it up and spread where the legs are, and that's the breast in between the legs. So we're just going to cut open the chicken.
Yeah.
With our trusty scissors.
And you could say, you get a chicken and you're a little bit confused too. That was a great description. You can also feel along for the breastbone is another way that people sometimes do it. So you don't have to be super meat literate.
No, it's just it's the soft part basically.
Yeah.
You'll be able to tell the difference just by touching it.
Right.
All right, let's put it aside, and so we're going to open up the legs a bit here. Now, if your chicken is a little bit better thought, it'll be easier to do than what's occurring right now for me. But okay, so we're going to open the skin and the fascia. So it's going to make it easier for you to cut and easier for you to see actually what's going on beneath there.
And so you know what, as Sherry does that, I think we're just going to get a little close up for you so you can see what's going on here.
What I'm going to show you now is how to cut the chicken breast off the chicken, and we're going to be cutting through the skin and the fascia to make it easier to get to the chicken breast.
And this chicken is still quite frozen, actually.
It's giving us a little bit more of a struggle here, but that's real life, right?
Yeah.
Sometimes you get the chicken and it's not exactly thought out. So here we go. We're going to show you the hard version. When you do it at home, it's going to be much easier.
Yeah, exactly. It's when it's lightly frozen, it's easier to, it can be easy to cut. But
so you can see how there's the skin I cut, and right here is the fascia. So this is the stuff we're going to cut off too. So we can get right to the breast. And as you can see, we're no butcher. We're just, some regular moms who figured out how to do this ourselves. We didn't, watch a special video. We just, used our intuition about how to cut this breast out. So basically what we do is we cut along the spine first, just basically going through the spine and then cutting around to all the parts that you can actually see are the nice, soft breast parts. It's very intuitive when you actually, see it and can feel it. So now this being frozen, let's see what happens here. Yeah, it's not too frozen.
Yeah. So you don't need to be a trained butcher to get a little bit more out of your meat, right? And you don't have to worry that every time you want to do, a shish kebab or whatever, that you have to go and buy these things separately. It's far more economical to buy a whole chicken and to get a lot of things out of it. So here you go. You can see the breast separating already, and look at that. That looks like better than some of the plain old, packaged chicken breasts you buy in the store. So you can see just how easy that is. Anyone could do that. Look at that. That's a good. You could get you could get a lot of mileage just out of that one chicken breast.
Absolutely. So basically what we're going to do is we're going to cut it into nice chicken nugget style size pieces.
Do you want the bigger knife for this, Sherry?
Yeah, that would be lovely.
Let's see. I'm going to reach across here and give Sherry a little better knife for this so we can...
Go faster.
And we've got a little square container, or rectangular container, shallow container, as you would use to marinate something. And that's exactly what we're going to do with these. We're going to make a very child-friendly meal with this. And of course, I think we've said it, that's chicken nuggets. But you know, you can do whatever you want with this. So, if you're making the chicken from fresh, if you've picked up your chicken and it's fresh, as you can do, then if you cut these chicken breasts off, you can put them aside in the freezer. So that's going to be really helpful for those of you who don't have a large family or couldn't use it all right away, or fear they might get sick of too many chicken meals in 1 week.
Exactly.
So you can just throw that in the freezer. All right, so as Sherry does that, what I'm going to do is start making the marinade. I'm going to show you, it's extremely simple. I'm just going to reach over here, and I am going to be just taking some yogurt. You can use homemade yogurt, you can use yogurt from the store. Sorry, I'm just getting my tools here. Let me see. Let me see. So what we're doing is we're just using a plain full fat yogurt, and it's just going to help. It's just going to help sort of break down the meat a little bit, make it more tender and flavorful.
More digestible.
More digestible. And there we go. So we're gonna, take that, and I'm gonna put a little bit of onion powder in with it, or you can use a fresh onion chopped. I'm gonna take the simple route today, so you can see this doesn't have to be very involved or a lot of work. And I'm just gonna grab another knife to do this.
You can also sprinkle a little bit of paprika on there as well.
Exactly. So think about the flavors that you like, and that's what you're gonna use as your marinade. Now, move this over a bit. And I'm gonna put some garlic in there because I do have some garlic handy. Once we've stuck this, all these chicken cubes in here and got this going, we're going to leave it to marinate overnight.
In the fridge.
In the fridge, of course, yes. So we're getting this taken care of right away. And I happen to have lost my little, I did have a little garlic peeler thing, but that's okay. Peeling by hand is going to savor some of the experience of cooking our own food, right? We're doing something that's really good for ourselves and for our families. So take a little bit of time to do that.
Right.
Okay. Yeah. So throwing a little bit of salt. We always use unrefined salt, so that means sea salt, Himalayan pink salt. And the way you can tell that your salts are unrefined is they're wet and sticky, maybe gray in color, they could be pink in color. They're not free-flowing white salt. We like to keep everything as high quality as possible.
And as close to nature as possible.
As close to nature as possible, that's exactly right. Now, I'm gonna stir this up. Oh, here's our spoon, right in the yogurt. Okay, I need a little bit more yogurt. Not too much.
And the beauty of this recipe is that you can just work with what you have.
Yeah.
You don't have to be worried about how much of the ingredients you put in. It's just a marinade, so as long as you have enough salt in to taste what you would typically enjoy, this is a fantastic recipe.
So here we go. We have one of our meals already set aside. This is one set of prep from the original chicken, right? Because here's our chicken nuggets that are going to go and marinate for our next day. And we're gonna widen out a little bit and show you, well, we're gonna show you what's left of the chicken first, and then we're gonna get back to showing you the next step. All right, we're back. We've set aside our chicken nuggets or whatever you're gonna do with that chicken breast. And now we're going to show you how to make broth. And this is super easy, and to roast chicken, all of the above. This is the thing that you're gonna do, and then set it aside and let it go for a while. So
yeah, this is actually considered a meat broth because you're making the meat and the broth at the same time.
Exactly. So what we're going to do is we're going to put this into the crock pot, and because we've cut the chicken breast out, we're gonna put this little guy down, facing down.
Yeah, so he doesn't look mutilated, and he's still beautiful.
He's still beautiful. And I'm just gonna wash my hands, and we're gonna get started adding the other ingredients, and Sherry will just talk about that.
Sounds great. Okay, so basically all you need is 2 tablespoons of unrefined sea salt. Just gonna sprinkle that on top. And 1 tablespoon of peppercorns. This is a very, very simple and delicious recipe that it's great because it takes no time to make, and then you can just set it aside and let it cook while you're, not even in the house, right? You can put it in a crock pot. And of course, if you don't have a crock pot, you can just do it in the oven, and of course you're gonna have to stay home. But it's great for Sunday afternoon.
Exactly.
So we're gonna put 3 bay leaves in as well, and some nice fresh herbs.
And when we're done putting this in, before we get to the point where we pour all the water in, which we're gonna do right away, we're just gonna get a close-up so you can see what it looks like. This is quite a large crock pot, actually. I have another crock pot that's not nearly this large. I did actually make an investment specifically in a large crock pot because it saves me so much time, and I can do so much with making meat broths this way, whether this is meat stocks this way, whether it's with a chicken or with something else. So it's a good investment, time saving for my sanity, and obviously good for your grocery bill as well.
All right, so now that we have all of our ingredients in the pot, we're gonna add our water. We're gonna add enough water to basically leave at least 1 inch of space on top.
And the reason why we're going to do that is because an hour before you serve your chicken or take it out of the crock pot, you're going to add some veggies, right? Because you're going to be able to serve that as a complete meal right there and then. So we've pre-chopped some veggies. I'm going to actually put these in the fridge until later. You can do it the hour before, or you can prep these veggies ahead of time. So I have some carrots here, some potato, beet. If you use a beet, your broth is going to turn a purpley color, right? Mm-hmm. Just want to warn you about that. And onion, garlic, whatever you want to add there, throw it into that pot.
Yeah.
And yeah.
So basically, you're gonna put your crock pot on for 8 hours or overnight. And if it's one of those days where you didn't get this done ahead of time and you want to do it in the afternoon, you just put, instead of having your crock pot on low, you're going to put it on high and have it cook for 3 hours, and then add your veggies in the 4th hour. So it ends up cooking about anywhere from 4 to 5 hours. And that's the quick way to do it if you didn't get it ready ahead of time.
And you're going to get all of these instructions. Don't worry, like I said, if this is going by you quickly, you're going to get all these step-by-step written instructions that you can reference as well. So you're going to see us do it here, but you can also reference the written instructions as well. Okay, so we're back, and the chicken has been cooking overnight or for 8 hours, whether it's through the day when you're out at work, or whether you're preparing something overnight. Totally up to you when you do this. But it's all complete, so we're going to show you what comes next. And the next part is that we are going to take this out of the crock pot. Okay, so maybe you can see this, but all of our beautiful vegetables, oh my gosh, oh, this smells delicious. They're all floating on the top. The broth's a beautiful, rich yellow color. Goodness gracious, this looks good. And what we're going to do, right, is we're going to lift this out of oh, you know what, this is so tender. This is the thing that you can enjoy from a crock pot chicken, is that it gets incredibly tender. So this isn't the chicken, the roasting chicken that you're used to seeing at Sunday dinners with the glistening golden skin, although the skin on this one is golden. It's coming apart a bit, so I'm probably going to have to do this in a few stages. That's perfectly okay, right? That just means your chicken is very tender. Now here we go. I'm lifting it in 2 parts, okay? And I'm putting it in a container, and the reason I'm going to do that is it's going to start to cool down. Look at that. Look at how it's coming apart. There's a few veg in there. And it's gonna start cooling down. And this is going to be what you're going to use for your chicken dinner tonight, right? Your chicken dinner that you have right away. And then when you're done with that, you can, you know, we're gonna pick the additional meat and we're gonna set it aside, whether you have some nice glass containers or if you don't, you can throw it once it's cooled into a little Ziploc and put it in the freezer or in your fridge. And you can use it for a variety of other meals like chicken salad, burritos, stir fries, anything that you can dream up that you might need some chicken parts in. So the next thing that we're going to do actually is take these veg and we're going to scoop them out. Oh look, I just found a chicken leg in there. I'm going to scoop this and put it in with our meat. But we have this nice slotted spoon that makes it really easy, right? Because we don't want to lose any of this broth, really, this nutrient dense broth that we were telling you a little bit about earlier. Here you go. We're going to put all these veg aside. There's a little bit of meat in there, that's fine. I'm just gonna set that aside once in a while. Okay, so you can see our vegetables are being set aside in this bowl. And we're going to show you a couple of different options with that. And
you're gonna take your veggies and include it with your dinner that you're gonna have tonight. And also you can take some of the veggies and blend it with your stock to make a lovely soup on the side. And of course you can take the broth and make a gravy. So you're basically taking this and making a nice chicken dinner with delicious chicken, vegetables, gravy, and a nice soup. All from one chicken.
Exactly. Okay, so this just takes a little, you know, a little bit of scooping. That's okay. The other thing that we could do that's gonna be just as quick is I'm gonna get a pair of oven mitts right away because this crock pot is still very hot. And I'm going to strain it into a bowl. So I'm going to capture all of that broth, right? The broth that we're going to use for soup or that you can set aside for a time where, you know, you have a cold or you want to make a delicious soup. I mean, broth is fundamental in so many cooking traditions, right? And cooking, you know, anything that you make will benefit from the addition of broth. All right, so thanks for those oven mitts, missus.
You bet.
I'm not gonna burn my hands now. So what we're going to do is, you know, we've taken the majority of the veg out. You could also just pour this directly, you could also just pour this directly in here, although I have a feeling it would have got a little bit clogged up. So we're gonna, like I said, capture that broth. I don't wanna burn you. So it's, you know what's really good for something like this is I don't know why I don't get it, but I always think of it as I'm doing stuff like this. Wouldn't it be nice to have this kitchen tool? Is those big glass bowls with the actual pouring spout on them? Like they have the little pouring,
nice,
my dream kitchen will have that. Okay, so there we go. Sherry's just picking the bits of veg that are out. We're really big on getting a lot of mileage from our food. It's, you know, it's good for your grocery bill, and it's also good for the environment. You think of, you know, you take a holistic view of what you're eating and the integration and the interaction, I guess, with your environment and the farmers that you are interacting with, and so we just try to be respectful of the resources that we're using. And that's the other thing about something like this. You are going to use every single part of this chicken. There's not going to be any waste at all. So here we go. Now we've got the veg, we've got the broth, we've got the chicken, and we're going to show you how to get a second stock actually out of those chicken bones right away. A really good secondary stock.
All right, we're back and we're gonna make the soup that accompanies your chicken dinner. So this is a really, really simple way to make soup. You don't need a recipe. Basically, all you need is about 4 cups of stock. It depends on, you know, how big your family is. And you're just gonna take some of the veggies that are left over from your chicken dinner, or that you're gonna, actually not left over, but that you're actually gonna take these aside from your chicken dinner. And you're gonna put them inside of the blender that you're using, and then some fresh herbs. So we have some great fresh herbs from Adrienne's CSA.
Yeah, I love being part of a CSA, which is short for Community Supported Agriculture. And what that means is that you buy a share in a farm in the spring, and you get a fresh box of local and seasonal veggies delivered to a drop-off point. and they are seriously, like, they've been picked that morning, so they're so delicious, and you get to try a variety of new things that you maybe have never tried before. And so I could go on and on about my CSA because I really love it. I love our farmers. I love that I can take my kids to that farm and they can check it out. So let's get back to the soup here. I just want to quickly say before we actually turn that on and blend that, is that you don't need a high-powered blender like a Vitamix or something for this soup. Any blender would be fine because these vegetables are pre-cooked. You could also put it in a container and use one of these hand blenders. Anything like that would work just fine, or just put it in a pot and actually, you know, or mash it up a little bit, whatever. You know, pretty much anything can work. The sky's the limit.
Yeah, it doesn't have to be a blended soup. And you can also add like a little bit more salt in here if you wanted to, or some spices. But this is basically, we're trying to show you recipes that you can use that you don't really have to use a recipe. You can basically use what you have on hand in the house, right? So this recipe, of course, because it's coming from our chicken stock, that is super delicious on its own, it really doesn't need to have any spices added. So, you know, it's just some fresh herbs if you want. All right, so we're gonna blend this here. All right, and we're simply just going to add it to a nice bowl of soup.
We're going to show you how this is all coming together in a minute too. You know, you can put this on the side of your...
There we have it.
Yeah, it's beautiful. We just sprinkled a little bit of parsley on top. Smells good. So we've taken our finished little portions, I guess, of what's been cooked from our chicken, and I'm actually going to quickly show you how you can store some of this broth, right? Because you might want to keep it for another soup or to cook whatever, you know, rice with, you know, cooked in broth is nice, well, however you want to do it. So I generally just take it and store it in a mason jar. And I'm just gonna give it a little pour here. And I have a funnel because I'm extremely messy with this. And I'm gonna leave plenty of space actually in this one. I'm a little gun shy. You do have to leave space because you know it's going to expand. I'm gonna put this in the freezer. I know I'm not gonna use it right away. And I'm going to have this rainy day broth ready to make a wonderful soup or something for my children, set aside in the freezer. I put the lid on it. You can see the fats coming to the top. If you left it in the fridge, actually, what you'd often see is that this broth gels. That means for you, so don't be like, oh, gross, you know, that is actually great. That means it's full of all of the healing parts of the chicken, it's infused with like collagen and all these building blocks that we need. I don't want to get too far into it, but really the healing parts, they heal our gut, they heal our body, and so a nicely gelled broth is really good for you. Be really happy about that if you've left this in the fridge and you take it out and it blobs out in a big blob of gel. That is a good thing. So you can see I just put the lid. I'm going to set this aside. I've had another jar handy. I would put the remaining broth in a jar or maybe set that aside in the fridge. And now I'm going to turn it over to Sherry, who's going to show us actually how to make what's called a soft parts pate.
All right, well, this kind of sound kind of gross to most people because what we're going to do is we're going to take the parts that usually people would discard from the chicken and we're going to make a pate out of it. And just like Adrienne was mentioning with the broth, the soft parts actually also have collagen and gelatin and good fats in them that are really, really nutritious for growing bodies, especially for young children or for people who are athletes or basically anybody who is wanting to recover from an illness as well. This is like a super nutrient dense pate that you can make. And we're going to show you how to do that right away. But before we do that, what I want to do is show you what these soft parts actually look like so you can find them.
So we're going to get in a little bit closer to show you that right now.
All right, so I'm just going to dig my hands in here and see what I can find. So here we go. I found a soft part right here. It just looks like a gelatinous piece of fat, really. You can basically use a piece like that. You'll see they're threaded actually all throughout. I can see these little pieces that I'm going to put in there. And we're going to be basically blending that together and making a delicious pate. Let's see what else I can find. Here we go. Oftentimes you can find the soft parts attached to the bones. That's usually, some of them will have sort of fallen out into your dish, but usually if you start, you know, looking on the bones is where you'll find them. So here's another one. It's something that you typically wouldn't want to eat because the texture is going to be, you know, pretty much disgusting in your mouth. But once you blend it, you're not going to experience any of that weird texture. It's pretty much tasteless. So, you know, it won't, as gross as it typically sounds to the average North American, it's actually, it's no big deal, and it's delicious and nutritious and a great way of using the whole chicken. Okay, so basically I found another one on the top of this piece of bone. It's this little triangle on top. Take that off, put it in the dish. I'm gonna put some, you know, we also have a tray set aside so we can put the meat down, and then we're gonna leave the bones inside our plate because we're going to be making a second stock.
Exactly.
Which we're gonna show you how to do very soon. So here's some little bits of fat. And it's okay if some of the meat gets into the soft parts pate. It's just gonna be blended up and you're not gonna notice that it's there. It's just a little bit of extra protein.
If you're giving this to your family for the first time, you might not want to make a big deal out of what you're doing. You're saying, oh, look what I've done. I picked this apart and I'm giving you the stuff that we usually throw in the garbage. You may just want to put it on the table and enjoy it. So you can see here as well that with the preparation that we're doing, this might be one Sunday afternoon, you know, or something to that effect, that you time this when you have a bit more time, and you can see how this preparation could stretch you through the entire week. So one, you know, set of preparation, all of these different meals or these different options that come out of this, it's going to really, that few hours up front that you're doing this, and it probably won't even take a few hours, you know, because when you originally put the things into the crock pot, right, then you just let the crock pot go. You didn't have anything, you weren't standing there over it for 8 hours figuring it out, and you come back to it, right? So you know that you've set your time aside to do this. And Sherry's holding up now. Let's talk about this.
Yeah, so
let's talk about what we're doing here.
I have the chicken skin, and I could blend it in with a soft parts pate, but it's also a really good treat for kids. You basically take it and sprinkle some salt on top and put it inside the oven on broil until it's nice and crispy, and basically you're giving them chicken chips, and you're going to be giving them a nice good quality fat that's building for their bodies, and children really, really enjoy the skin when it's nice and crispy, so, and dads too. Yeah,
anything crispy and salty. Okay, if any of you are shrieking right now in horror, just think, I actually think back to, if any of you are of this generation, am I dating myself here? You used to be able to get like these like bacon puffs or something in the store, didn't you, in a bag, and like everybody just thought that was the bee's knees. I mean, I don't remember particularly, you know, eating these, but this is like homemade. It is really taking to heart you properly using our resources, and you think back to, I mean, the most top of mind thing that people would think of probably is hearing stories of First Nations people using every part of the animal, and that was really done out of respect for the whole cycle of life that we are a part of as well, right? So, I mean, you know, you can take what you want away from this in terms of whether this is just something that you're doing to stretch your food dollars, but it's also incredibly respectful to the earth.
Animal.
Yeah, to using the whole animal. It's respectful to the animal that gave its life, right? So that we can enjoy a very nutrient dense and healthful meal. So that's what we also think of when we're preparing meals for our family.
Yeah, you just take it step by step. It's not like, you know, one day we just woke up and suddenly we're using the whole chicken, right?
Yeah,
it's just
exactly.
a process of learning and getting used to new things.
Yeah, and so you know what, you might take something away from this today and use one or two parts of it. The part that sticks with you may be, oh wow, I didn't even think of that. I can take a whole chicken and I can cut the chicken breast off and I can set that aside, and that's gonna be my meal tomorrow night. And I have the stock and it's done. So you know, you may take 3 parts out of the 8 of what we're doing, and then a little bit later you might go, you know, I think I'm ready to try that. I think I'm ready to try that pate. I just wasn't there before, but now I am, and that's fine. Go at your own pace and do what feels right for you.
And so basically right now what we're doing is putting the meat aside as well so that we can make some different dishes with the leftover meat. So that is something that you know, is a good way of having leftovers. It's easy, it's simple, and it's available. And we also are providing the recipes for you as well so that you have some ideas of how to use your leftover chicken meat.
Right, and that's what I should mention now, is if this is all going by rather quickly for you, don't worry. We're going to have everything, we're going to tell you how to get all of the recipes at the end of this video. So don't worry about that. All of the recipes will be available via email. So and they'll be posted, and we'll tell you how you can do that at the end. So we've got 3 piles going. We've got the chicken skin to make the chicken chips. We've got the soft parts for the pate. We've got the meat that we picked apart. And I think we're just going to take a quick break here now while we finish picking apart the chicken, and then we'll come back and show you what's next.
All right, so now we're going to make the soft parts pate. So basically what we've done is we've taken some of the gelatinous fatty tissues off of the bone of the chicken, and we've put a little bit of chicken skin in here. We're going to make a really small soft parts pate. If we had used all the chicken skin, it would be a lot bigger. But basically all we're going to do is blend it in a blender with some of the chicken stock, because that's what's going to basically get it so that it'll mix. And we just want to start with a little bit because you don't want to have it runny. So we're just going to play with it a little to see how much stock we actually need. And then we're going to throw in, this is optional, you could just blend this with the stock and that's your pate. But if you want it to be tasty and to put it on a cracker or something like that, then you want to add some nice fresh herbs and some garlic. You might want to put in like some pepper. You could put in some red wine if you want, add some more flavor, some lemon juice. Wrong way. And just blend it however you want. You can also add butter to it. If you have a feeling this is going to gross you out and you need to cut it with some butter, you can also just add some butter. So we're just going to do it really simply. I think I'm going to throw just a little bit more of this stock in. All right.
And again, obviously you don't need a high-powered blender to do this. Just use what you have at home and that will be fine.
All right. Stock.
So yeah, we're just trying to get a certain consistency for the pate, and
just like pretty much the consistency of soft butter, right?
Yeah, exactly.
Thank you. So what you have to remember here is, of course, the stock is, because it's still warm, it's a liquid. But once we put it in the fridge, even though it's liquidy in here, as you're going to watch me pour it out, but once it's in the fridge, it's going to firm up because of the gelatin, right?
And I think when you're getting ready to pour it out, we'll just get a close-up of that for everybody so you can see exactly what that looks like.
Yeah, I'm going to give it one more little spin here.
Okay.
All right, so now you can see what the consistency of the pate is before it goes in the fridge. So we're just going to pour it in there. And one other thing you can do with this besides, putting it on a cracker or something like that is if you find that just, beyond what you can imagine doing, you can also simply just, every time you make some soup, you can take a tablespoonful of the soft parts pate and just add it to your soup blended, and then no one will even know it's there. All right, so there you have it. Here's the soft parts pate. So you're gonna simply put the lid on and keep it in the fridge. Basically, it'll last for about a week or so, probably a lot longer, but you're just gonna wanna take a look at it, make sure it still smells good and that there's no mold or anything growing on top, and it's gonna be great.
All right, so this is really stretching, what you can get out of a chicken, because what we're going to do here is we're going to make a secondary broth out of the bones that you've already picked all of the meat off of, right? And so we've, you may not be seeing all of this in an order that makes sense in the video, or it may, because we've had to do some little video magic to make this all happen in one day. So basically we've picked all the meat off of the bones of the chicken, and there's a little bit attached or whatever, and we've got the neck in there, all of this thing. And in order to get a really good quality broth, now this is where your relationship with your farmer is so important, because if you know the farmer, you can actually ask them to save the chicken feet for you. Now I'm going to pause and let you digest that for a second, because the chicken feet will actually allow you to get another good quality broth, because it adds a bit of the
gelatin.
The more gelatin, right? I was struggling for my words there. So Sherry's going to show you how to prepare the chicken feet. We just have them in this pot right now, and we're going to explain the process to you so you know what to do. So ask your farmer to set aside the chicken feet for you.
All right, let's get started here. All right, so basically what I've done is I took the chicken feet and I boiled them in water for 3 minutes. And now what I'm going to do is take the nails off the chicken feet. And the reason I'm going to do that is just open it up and make it so that the gelatin can come out much easier.
So we're going to get in for a close-up because you know what? Some of these are skills that have been lost over the years using all the parts of the animal, right? And this isn't necessarily a skill that a lot of people have these days, is preparing chicken feet for broth. So here we go, we're just gonna come in for a close-up, come on in.
So basically what we're gonna do is chop the tips off of the fingers, okay? So we're just gonna hear the little crack and off it comes.
Yes.
Why do I always get the gross jobs? Here we go.
So you know you're doing something for the good of the earth here, Sherry, by using all of you're a true environmentalist here. So yeah, just think of all this stuff that would be discarded, right? That you're now using. This is really, really going the extra mile here.
Yeah, and it's very much worth it. The stock can be used in so many different ways. It's not just to make soup. You can use it as a base for any sauces, gravies, even salad dressings. And of course, you can cook all of your grains in stock. And what that does is it makes the grains actually more digestible, because broth is very helpful for assimilation and digestion. All right, so it's actually really worth the time to take this extra step and actually make a second broth out of your chicken, not only because it's a way of actually using up the whole chicken and getting more nutrition out of the chicken, but also because it has many different uses in the kitchen. You don't have to just use broth to make soup. You can use it as a base for salad dressings, for sauces. You can also use it as a medium that you would cook your grains in, for example. So instead of using water to cook your rice, use your stock to cook your rice. And what that does is it actually adds more nutrition to the grains, and because stock is something that helps so much with our digestion and assimilation, it'll actually help you to digest the grains better. And in our day and age, there's a lot of people who have trouble digesting grains. So this is one of the ways that you can mitigate the impact of grains in your diet if you're one of those people who has a hard time digesting them.
Right. So now I have a very large bag of chicken feet in my freezer. My sister was raising chickens and I asked her to set them all aside. So we've thrown 4 chicken feet in here that we've got prepared. Now we're going to show you how to make the rest of the broth. And you know what? It's exactly the same as we made the broth the first time. So
yeah, exactly. So that time we made a meat broth. Now we're making a bone broth, but the recipe is exactly the same, except for there's one extra step that occurs in this broth. Besides adding the chicken feet, we're going to be adding apple cider vinegar, but I'll tell you about that in a second. Okay, so here's the leftover meat and bones from the chicken, and we pretty much picked all the skin and the fat parts out for our other recipes, and that was the leftover stuff. And then we're basically just going to do the same recipe of 2 tablespoons of salt.
And those are pre-measured for you in there, actually.
Oh, they are.
If you just want to dump it in there.
You can also put in a tablespoon of pepper, and I'm just going to use some pepper out of here. And then you're going to add your 3 bay leaves.
Right.
This is super delicious. And one thing you'll notice is typically a bone broth doesn't gel as much as a meat broth. So when you do your meat broth, you're almost guaranteed to have a good gel if you have a good quality chicken.
Yeah.
Sometimes with the bone broth, it doesn't gel. Depends on how many extra chicken feet you put in it. So it's just going to depend. It doesn't mean that the broth isn't good when it doesn't gel.
Yeah.
It just means there's less gelatin in it. All right, so we're going to throw in our fresh herbs. I like to throw in more fresh herbs in a broth, in the bone broth, because there's less of the chicken flavor going in there. So you just want to really, make it super delicious.
And we have everything from thyme to chives to parsley. I don't know if we have any sage or rosemary in there, but really, the sky's the limit. And so you put your favorite herbs in there. Now, Sherry's adding the water, of course, as you can see, to fill it.
Yeah, so basically everything's in here. The only thing that we're going to do extra is we're going to take some apple cider vinegar and we're going to put a little splash in there. And basically we're just going to let it sit for 1 hour. I'm going to give it a little stir so that it is all through the entire broth. And what the apple cider vinegar does is it actually draws minerals out of the bone and into the stock. And that's one of the major benefits of eating stock, is that this is a really great source of calcium, magnesium, and potassium. Besides the fact, that it has so many benefits on our digestion, you don't even have to, use it as part of a recipe. You can simply just heat it up on the stove and have a cup of broth during the day for some added nutrition in your diet.
And that's often what we'll do for our children as well. Just, and it's especially wonderful, of course, in the winter, and you think of those cold months, they just love having a cup of broth. So there you go.
All right, so you're basically gonna let it sit for an hour, and then after it's sat for that 1 hour, that's when you're gonna turn your crock pot on and let it go for a good 8 hours. All right, so I've just taken the chicken skins out of the oven. We put it on broil for at about 500, and right now it's been about 10 minutes. You're just gonna watch it and see if it starts to get crispy on top, and at that point you're gonna pull it out of the oven and flip over the chicken skin so that you get it crispy on both sides. So that's what I'm up to right now. All right, so I got my glove on and I'm ready to put my chicken skins to make chicken chips back in the oven for round 2. All right, so I can smell in the kitchen here that the chicken chips are ready. Just gonna pull them out of the oven. And you can hear them sizzling away, and they're nice and crisp. There's a few pieces that are a little bit thicker, and you can see that some meat was left on them. So you might just want to pick the chicken skin off the meat if you don't like your meat kind of overcooked. But most of the tray here is nice and browned and delicious. You can sprinkle some more salt on it if you want to make it more like a potato chip. And a lot of people are a little bit nervous about eating chicken skin because we've been told that chicken skin isn't good for you because of all the saturated fat. But just want you to think about how this is a kind of fat that our ancestors have been using for thousands of years, and it's a fat that our body recognizes and can easily digest and assimilate. So try to think outside the box a little bit and give these a try, because your family's really going to love them.
Okay, so how exciting is this? Here's our completed meal. You've seen just how beautiful this can be. Who wouldn't want to serve this to their family? You're getting a lot of mileage out of this. And we're going to put a little, give it a little extra oomph here, right, Sherry?
We're going to add a little bit of yogurt. You could also add some creme fraiche or sour cream, just to give it a little bit of creaminess. It's really delicious.
And not to mention, really, a little bit of probiotic goodness in there, right? So here we go. You've seen us demonstrate one chicken 8 ways now. You've seen it step by step. You can get all of those recipes actually online at domesticdiva.ca/chicken. Just go to that URL, that's domesticdiva.ca/chicken, and put your name in the box that allows you to receive those things, and we'll deliver all of the recipes and instructions straight to your inbox. Well, it was great having this opportunity to show you exactly how to stretch your food dollars, and also how to get the most from your chicken and from your time. All right, take care. Bye now.
Bye-bye.